You're listening to the Wrigleyville Nation podcast. Season ticket holders and lifelong fans with neighborhood ties discuss Cubs news and neighborhood happenings. Here's your hosts, Jeremy and Pat.
Hello and welcome to the Wrigleyville Nation podcast. This is episode 407 of the podcast. My name is Jeremy Deemer and I'll be your host. I'm joined as always by my co-host. He's my cousin and he's high atop Wrigleyville tonight. How's it going, Pat?
Well, better now that the Cubs have left.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time with the Cubs this week, and they did not reward you for time spent.
I mean, honestly, if this was a work release program, I'd just say send me back to prison full time.
We will unfortunately have to unpack and recap the week that was. We will preview the week that will be. To help us talk all things Cubs, you know him from his work at the Pointless Exercise podcast, as well as his appearances here on this show. Andy Dolan, thanks for taking time out to talk Cubs with us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. Always exciting to come on when they're really going great.
We like to bring the optimists on at moments like this.
So, Pat, do you think your property values go up when they're on road trips, when they're playing like this?
They must, right?
Yeah.
Slightly, yeah.
The Cubs have lost 9 in a row as of the time of this recording. So it's not over yet. It could get worse from here. But as of the time of this recording on a Monday night, Memorial Day, the Cubs have lost 9 in a row. We'll start with last week.
Not the week we had predicted.
It wasn't. I think 3-3 was what we were planning for in some
I thought that was fair.
permutation.
And I don't think that was fair in like an optimistic way. I thought that was fair. You're playing one of the worst teams in baseball, and then you're playing the Brewers. So I figured, like, all at home, mind you. I figured 3-3 was a fairly realistic hope.
Yeah, even if you lost 2 out of 3, the mess that was the Houston Astros coming into town, at least it was a bright spot. You could have made up for any poor outings against the Brewers. However,
You really could have.
and the Astros wanted to give you games in that series. We'll get into that in a minute, but first let's start with that Milwaukee series because it was important. It was the first time, Andy, that the Cubs were playing someone not the Reds or Pirates within the division, and really just an overall disappointing showing. Your thoughts on the series with the Brewers?
Did they had a lead in that one, right? At some point, they didn't lead until Game 3 against the Astros, so they didn't have a lead all week until Sunday. It's possible.
Unbelievable.
It's very possible.
That is, yeah, that's right.
Oh, it's good stuff. So fun to do that against those guys too. You know, the little team that could, with their mostly BS narrative about, well, we just, we can't afford to pay good players. Our billionaire owner can't afford to pay good players. So we just have to be scrappy, and look how much better we are than you guys. I made a comment on our podcast that I kind of feel like the Brewers seem better set up to play at Wrigley than the Cubs do. Like, it just seems like their all-around team speed makes it feel like you can't land a ball in the outfield against them. I mean, but the Cubs, it's Pete has to do it all.
He does, yeah.
And then they seem to be better suited to handle when it's not an easy day to hit. It's almost like, I don't want the Cubs to try to, recreate the Brewers, but the bunch they have assembled on offense is, we knew they were streaky, and this is what happens when they all go bad at the same time, which is bad. Now, when they're good at the same time, that's how you get 2 10-game winning streaks, but they've pretty much undone at least one of them now, so that's fun.
And the hitting has gone ice cold, Pat, especially runners in scoring position was a big story of the week.
Yeah. It was a non-story of the week, but yeah. I mean, they were in scoring position occasionally, although even this week they weren't in scoring position as much as usual. I think that the most insulting part about the Brewers series, that Game 1 was a really bad omen because Dum Dum came back from the IL and hit a home run, right? the great Satan himself, Christian Yelich, and some guy named Sprout, who was like their worst pitcher, with an ERA of 6. Didn't get the win, but at least held them in the game while they scored 8 runs, so that they could hold on and win that one. And otherwise, I look at their lineup, and it's like, there's some decent players, and then there's like the whole bottom half of their lineup looks bad-ish usually. And yet, the Cubs couldn't score a single run off Drohan, who pitched 4 1/3 scoreless innings in relief. Meanwhile, on our side of the ledger, you had Shota Imanaga coming back to reality. Oh boy, he's coming back fast too. This was just the first of gave up 8 earned runs in 4 innings. He's like a Taillon or Taillon. When he gives up the home runs, look out. And they're both able to do it in volume. And then the Cubs managed to mess around, and actually that was one of the games where they got a few hits, but didn't seem to matter, because when your 3 and 4 hitters, Bregman and Happ, are up 0 for 8. I don't even know how many people they left on base, but probably a lot. It's just more the same.
Do you think the Cubs front office guys were like high-fiving each other when Shota started to get hit? Like, see, this is why we didn't pick up his option. We were right.
I was hoping
they looked so bad early in the year. That's like, why aren't we paying this guy $15 million a year for the next 3 years?
I was hoping he would.
Now they're like, this is why.
I was hoping he and Happ and Suzuki would all hold on for most of this season, just the last year of their deals, right? Just to kind of like glide path us into the future. I didn't even made positive comments 3 weeks ago, just 3 weeks ago on this show about Ian Happ and about how he, say what you will about Ian Happ, but Mr. Consistent, he always seems to pop back, and he was doing at that time everything you wanted him to do before he went over 40 with men in scoring position afterwards. But they're, with all those guys, you worry like they're all in their early 30s, and you're like, oh gosh, is this going to be the year where everything comes crashing down, and you just keep hoping that it's not. And the last couple of weeks sure felt like it has been, but luckily we've got 4 more months to play. So doesn't it feel like we're more than a third of the way into the season right now?
It does.
That's what happens when you start in the middle of March, I guess, but still, like, come on.
But at least Pat Hughes was excited today, because he pointed out that today is the official 1/3 mark. And then it makes the math easy. And then he can look at everybody's stats and multiply them by 3. And that's what they're going to get for the year. He loves to do that, either at the quarter pole or the third or the halfway mark. Yeah. And it's all really depressing with the Cubs. Well, he didn't do it a lot today. He stopped. He was like,
when Bregman ends the year with 12 home runs and 48 runs batted in, and Michael Busch has himself 15 homers on the season.
Happ's numbers work out to where he'll hit his career averages.
Yeah. How he gets there.
He'll get to 30 home runs at this rate, right?
30 homers and 60 RBI.
and Dansby is going to score 90 runs and drive in 81 at this rate. Batting 21 90. Homers.
Yeah, and hit 112.
I will tell you, speaking of Happ, I can't believe this is true. I thought that I refreshed my actual computer to see if it had been stuck on like stats from a month ago. Did you know that next to Carson Kelly, of course, who's the star hitter on the team, with an OPS plus of 128, Ian Happ is second on this team with an OPS plus of 127. 127 is a significantly above average hitter, right? It just goes to show you OPS plus isn't necessarily the end all be all, is it?
Well, no. And what it really shows you is that it was probably 180 before he slumped, and it'll get to, he always ends up about 120. Right? Yes. Somehow he magically.
So he has room to go. He's going to get worse before he gets better at this rate, because he's still not,
Well, yeah,
he's slightly above his career average right now.
Yeah. But it's how he gets there that has always bothered me. These huge troughs of nothing that we're used to after 10 years of him.
I think last year around this time, frankly, probably end of May, you were concerned that his exit velocity was about 60 miles an hour and that this might be the end of Ian Happ. And then, of course, just to prove you wrong, you went on in June on that torrid streak where he hit all the home runs and doubles and said, ha ha, I gotcha. So I guess we'll get some more of that maybe from him later, but
I hope it's the only thing he's worth. And he's got to do it. I mean, it's already a bad sign. This is the Pirates. There's two teams he really hits, especially on the road, are the Pirates and Reds. He's got to make his hay right now.
Yeah, right.
He already frittered one game away. Get to work, Ian. I guarantee you that's why he was back in the lineup today.
73 strikeouts, by the way. I don't think we expected 219 Ks from Ian Happ, along with his 30 home runs at the end of the year.
He struck out, 20? Well, I didn't. How many times he struck out today? Maybe he didn't. But going into the day, it was like
73 going into today. So he's add more.
Struck out 24 of his last 24 times his last 42 at bats.
Yeah.
So you might as well not take a bat up there. Just stand there. Maybe they'll, you can't strike out then.
I mean, he has 36 walks, so that's probably not a bad approach.
No. That'll be the next, instead of the magic dots in his helmet now we find out he has a posture specialist that he has to FaceTime with before every game. I don't know if you saw that in The Athletic.
I miss
his
my
new thing
calling.
can be the invisible bat. That's what somebody can sell him that. I always joke that if he was a golfer, he probably is an amateur golfer. If he was a golfer, he would pull up to a course and they'd pop the trunk, get his clubs out, and there would be thousands of dollars of worthless swing aids that he had bought over the years, just buying anything that he thinks might work, because he seems to apply it all to baseball too.
I was in college and realized once and for all I wouldn't be a professional baseball player. I really should have become a posture specialist at that point, because
you'll be shocked to know you could train online. It's like a 15 credit certificate, and then you could be.
Does not shock me. I don't think it's a medical science, is it?
You can hurry up and get that. I think it costs like $1,000.
Okay.
And you get your little certification, and then whatever city Ian's in next year, you can just you can say, hey, FaceTime me. Look at this. I have the certification. It'll work.
It's about what I spent on Cubs tickets this week. So fair enough.
Were you at the game where Mizorowski pitched against Ben Brown?
Yeah, of course.
That was the game we expected to have a hard time with.
After we beat Sprouts brains in game one, in theory, right? That's what's going to happen. Then we figured Brown would, although I have to say Ben Brown this week was really the one starting pitcher who kind of showed some fight in him. I mean, he's, I don't understand why or how, but he only goes 5 or 6 innings, but God bless him. He's actually like pitching effectively and keeping us in the games. It'd be great if we could actually, score some runs to assist him in that process. But yeah, I mean, I was at that game. Gave up a run in the first inning. That pretty much was the story of the game. You kind of knew at that point that was going to happen. And then, with 2 outs, of course, a little soft single, right? And then just to rub in the salt in the wounds in the third inning, I think that was the one where was it the one where I might be conflating games, so they went to back-to-back games against the Brewers where PCA let the ball go under his legs? No, that was the next night.
That was the next game, yeah.
Yeah, so this one was pretty much over in the third inning when the Cubs
they were down 3-0. Yep.
Yeah, 3-0. So a lot of soft contact in that inning again also. But whatever. That's the way it goes. And the Cubs were completely, I had no pun intended, hapless at the plate in that game. Scored a couple in the 8th, but by then it was 5-0. It's the typical kind of Mizorowski was out of the game already, and it was already too late to really mount a comeback.
He pitched 6 innings, struck out 8, and he only needed 74 pitches.
Yeah. They just took him out because they're up by so much, right? I mean, he could have gone
he was
more.
dominating. Yeah. Yes, the Cubs were helpless against Mizorowski, and then if you told me that the Cubs losing 5-0 was going to be the score in the Mizorowski game, I would have believed you. But that was the closer for the sweep. Cubs shut out against Milwaukee.
Yeah. So the third game, which I really thought maybe the Cubs would win since they lost the first two. It is baseball after all. That was the disappointing game when Cabrera, on a couple fronts, right? Cabrera, for the 8th straight time, didn't look particularly sharp, like he did the first two starts. And it's not even that he walks a ton of guys. He does walk guys, but he seems like he falls behind on counts. He throws a lot of pitches. He ended up going 3 innings. He only gave up 1 earned run. That's the game where PCA let the ball go through his legs and multiple runs scored. So even though only 1 run had been was earned at that point, it was basically 4 runs scored, under Cabrera's watch there. And he only walked a couple guys, but got the blister, had to leave the game.
He's on the 15-day IL with blister issues on his right middle finger.
I hope this isn't like a Nick Lodolo from the Reds thing where he gets a blister and then you don't see him for 2 months, because they really can't afford that at this point. I'd rather have him pitching somewhat meh, but not like getting blasted like some of the other guys are capable. I mean, he's not like he's given up like a ton of home runs or anything. He just gets nickeled and dimed, and for having a great defense, he seems to get it does seem to help him, because I don't know, like
was it Horton had a blister last year, right? He dealt with that.
Mm-hmm.
Kerry Wood used to get him. Of course, Kerry got everything.
Yeah.
The Cubs haven't had a lot of blister problems, but this is a fun one. It was one of those things where when he left the game, you immediately thought, oh, he probably blew out his elbow too, just like every other Cub.
Right.
And then it was supposed to be a relief that it was just a blister.
Right.
And you're like, we'll find a way that'll be the All-Star break before that thing's healed somehow.
Yeah, the Cubs haven't had a whole lot of blister issues. I'm trying to think back when the Cubs are good, the late teens. Did Arrieta or Lester run in those guys would have gotten a blister and just stayed in the game.
They wouldn't care. Yeah, they didn't.
So we wouldn't have known. Yeah.
They just
I think the thing where they'd say like afterwards, like, yeah, I got this blister, and so I'll never be able to use my index finger again, but it's fine. I can still pitch.
Well, that was the game Kyle Harrison started for the Brewers. And that was one of those guys where he was in the Devers trade last year, the Red Sox. The great Craig Breslow had identified that we're going to turn him into a star. And the Giants have been talking about him forever. Like, he was a great prospect who just had never figured it out.
Like Caleb Killian, their other great star that the Giants have.
Who is now their closer.
Yeah.
When he got flipped this offseason to the Brewers, I'm like, well, of course they get him. You knew they would immediately get this out of him. And what was he? The ERA after the game was 1.77. He's 5-1 with a 1.77 ERA.
Well, he struck out 11 batters in 7 innings, gave up 2 hits, right, and no runs.
Well, he threw a whopping 94 pitches. They really made him work.
I really thought the Cubs were going to get to him. I thought he's a better pitcher than the Brewers deserve, but not as good a pitcher as he was pitching. And I'm like, it's about time. It's the end of May. It's about time for him to have a real and it'll probably be his next start. Watch. But it seemed like it was about time for him to have a kind of a down game. And of course, the Cubs have decided, after we gave him so many compliments the last couple of months about how they take a lot of pitches and they're really exhausting for other teams to deal with because the Cubs get on base and they make you work for it. Cubs didn't make anybody work for anything this week.
Nope, one really. Walk, 11 strike. For that 11 strikeouts, only 1 walk.
Yeah. And again, the middle of the order was 0 for 8, 0 for 10, 0 for 13, 0 for 6. So after the top 2 hitters in the lineup, the Cubs are over. You can't get if your leadoff guy gets a single and your number 2 hitter gets a single over the course of an entire game and no one else gets a base hit, it's tough to score. Right? Because usually you need multiple hits in a game to score. Not just 2 singles.
I'm just wildly jealous of the Brewers pro scouting, because the Brewers pro scouts can go out and find these guys and they can turn these guys into real players. And it seems like the Cubs can only do the obvious, and they can't. They don't find any bullpen aside, right? That's where their specialty is trying to find these bullpen reclamation projects. But
usually older gentlemen of a certain age, right? Like in their 30s.
Yeah. But we just don't see the same level of pro scouting on the Cubs side that we do the Brewers.
And maybe it's a function of their vastly overrated farm system, that they see the guys they get are guys they can sign. Like he's been DFA'd, or he's a 38-year-old free agent. Nobody else wants him. And they're like, well, he's a different, he'll give a different angle out of the bullpen. That'll be perfect. Where the Brewers are identifying young players who they typically have to give up a prospect to get, but they have inventory and they're not afraid to use it. And the Cubs don't seem to make those kind of deals. Nobody's rooting around the Cub. We used to joke all the time about how all the 40-man roster crunch are going to have to DFA somebody. It's like, well, I guarantee you that guy will clear waivers. Everybody the Cubs release clears waivers.
Yes.
Except Nelson Vasquez. He played for like 3 weeks after the Cubs left, and then he cleared waivers.
Yeah.
Or Christopher Morel. No, I look at the Cubs player development, whatever you want to call it, and I think back to those early Theo days. Remember when they used to be really successful in the international draft? Like, say what you will about Jimenez and Gleyber Torres and guys like that, but those were like the studs of the draft, and the Cubs ended up flipping both of them for valuable pieces too, right? I mean, they were high. How many players have the Cubs developed internationally? I mean, who's that guy? Was it Hernandez, who they stole from under the Giants or whatever? Christian Hernandez? Nothing.
Yeah.
We've been hearing about Rojas for like 8 years. I don't know. Get back to me when when he turns 15. I just feel like there are so many of these guys who we hear about or don't hear about, but where are they at the major league level? I mean, even Palencia was a trade.
Yeah.
I mean, where are the guys that the Cubs are getting in international? The Cubs are willing to spend a lot of money in international free agency, right? So it's not that. It's just that they can't find people who they can develop into being good players.
Yeah, so they've got They've got 3 right now, right? They've got Ballesteros and Miguel Amaya and Pedro Ramirez.
Miguel Amaya was a Jim Henry pickup, so let's not be too too gracious for these guys, wasn't he? It feels like it.
That old, is he?
No, it feels like it.
Yeah.
He's not a Hoyer movie. He's been around for they got him a long time ago.
Yeah, and they basically had to. He ran out because they have to put him on the 60-day DL every year. Yeah. He ran out of options.
Yeah.
Without being shuttled back and forth. Like once he came up, he could just never go back down.
Right.
So his development thing has always been screwed up. But no, I get it. And in draft wise, they still, if they're not picking in the first half of the draft, other than like Nico, first half of the first round is pretty much that's where they get their players. And that seems to be the only guys they'll shop for too. Remember the big deal was look at all the guys we got from the same draft. We have Dansby, and we have they had him and Happ and Kyle Tucker, and now they've got Bregman. And it's like, can we look? Does your baseball almanac have more than one page in it? Maybe flip forward to another year and see if you can find some guys.
It's disappointing to see, and we were equally disappointed on the Friday game against the Astros.
Before I go any further, Amaya was signed with the Cubs in July of 2015. So
11 years
almost
ago.
11 years.
Wasn't it? Didn't they bring back Robinson Chirinos 20 years after they picked him up? Remember, he was the year they had all the catchers. He was finally the last one that they picked up and were able to use for more than like a week. And it literally had been 20 years because they signed him as like a 15-year-old, and he was back 2 decades later to finally contribute. Awesome.
So he was practically, they got him a little bit after the year after Javier Baez, I think, or something. Amaya, that is. So anyway, it's been a while since the Cubs have developed players. I think we can all agree on that, of international quality.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, in the actual amateur draft, it usually is just first round picks only, and usually only high first round picks.
Only high first round picks. Like the guys that we could pick. Like, you could put us in a room, and if you're going to pick in the top 10, even
I just go to the ESPN mock draft and figure out who the best players are. I think that might have been actually, if the Cubs did that,
Daniel or Keith Law has a decent grade on him, and
the Cubs actually might be better off had they done that. Actually, if you look at all the draft picks they've made in the first round over the last 10 years.
It depends what their theme is. Is it pitchers only, or is it college hitters only?
Right.
They'll figure it out.
I bet they could have found somebody better than Wicks.
God forbid the strategy ever be best player available. Maybe try that for one draft. See how that works out. Maybe that'd be better. What
was not fun at all was our Friday game. Pat, the company was great because you and I were at the ball game, but what a hard game to watch. The turning point for that game being the bases loaded, nobody out, and the Cubs score 0 runs.
All right, so we were in the stands taking bets as to how many runs the Cubs are going to score at the bases loaded, nobody out. Because the Cubs had the heart of the order up. It was Happ, Suzuki, and Conforto. I was a little bit optimistic. After all the failed runners in scoring position opportunities, I thought that after Happ and Suzuki struck out, Conforto would hit a grand slam. So I said 4.
I said 2. They'd get 1 hit out of this and get a couple of runs.
And Randy said strikeout double play.
He said 0.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was right. They got 0 runs, completely turned the game. All hope was lost. Even a PCA 2-run home run couldn't get anything going. And
we were down 1-0, right, at the time. And it's rare that you get so Nico Horner had a call overturned. So instead of striking out, he walked. Yay, to lead off the inning. Then we had back-to-back hit by pitches.
Yep.
With Bush and Bregman. I mean, this is like kismet, right? Like this is the fortuitous thing that you need to break out of the slump.
This is Houston trying to give you the game, which they tried many times.
Team with the worst ERA of any team in baseball saying, you know what? Watch this, right? Cubs, you don't think you can hit with runners in scoring position? Watch us now. But yet, no, they were just toying with us, it turns out. Yeah.
Infuriating. Yeah, and then you get into their bullpen and, you see a guy like Abreu come in his 8 ERA and you're like, here we go. All right, now we're going to get something going. And
he looked very hittable.
Yeah. Just nothing.
The Cubs did two people on base and then it was a double play. I don't know. It's the whole weekend. It's all conflating together, but the Cubs actually had, that's what it was. Pena had the throwing here, right? So it's the 8th inning. Cubs are down 4-2, and they've got bases loaded. And then Horner is up at the plate. You figure like, well, okay, this is our best bet here. Then he hits a ground out, right? Fielder's choice.
Yep.
Ends the inning. And that was really our only chance the rest of the game.
Yep. Cubs lose 4-2. And it just kept rolling.
Yeah, then that was the best pitcher, Arrighetti or whatever, the best pitcher Astros had. The next 2 days, they were throwing up just total like junk, right?
Nothing.
And what did they do the next day? Tang shut us out.
Shut us out. A shutout.
Okay, fine. That seemed like a low effort game for the Cubs. And then, of course, I guess Colin Ray it didn't look as bad on paper, 7 innings, 3 earned runs, but give the 3 earned runs first. It was that was the end. And then they left him in, and he did pitch a couple more innings after that. But yeah, not great. Sunday, I had to go Sunday. I forgot about that. Yeah, Lambert, another guy. Figure maybe he'll do something against. Imanaga started the week with an ERA in the 2s. He ended it with his ERA in the 4s. Yeah. He up 7 earned runs in that game. They left him in. He actually pitched a couple extra innings. He pitched. Thought they were going to take him out sooner, but they left him in to pitch the 6th after he'd given up 7 runs. Again, I think they were just trying to save innings before they brought Phil Maton in to clean up.
Your guy.
Yeah. And despite that, the Cubs actually scored 5 runs in the game, which this week, that's a lot.
That was the game they had the lead in. Everyone was so excited.
Yes. Yeah.
For multiple innings, right?
When the Cubs took the 3-1 lead in the second, we actually were like, okay, this is it, right? Like, Everybody was doing well. And it was like Ramirez comes up for the minors, gets a double, scores. You're like, oh, wow, this is really going to ignite the team. And even though they scored 3 runs, they did have the bases loaded, and then Conforto struck out. And in the back of my head, I'm like, man, would have been really nice just to make that like a base hit there would have made it 5-1, right? Like just kind of open it up. They did not. And then they gave up, run here, run there, home runs. Christian Walker, how many home runs did he have this series? Like 3? Come on. And yet, despite all of it, the Cubs were only down 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th. They had a real chance of coming back. They had 2 men on. Ramirez was up, 1 out. Hits a blistering ball up the middle, right? In the old days, as in our era, like that's a base hit and 2-run score, and it's a tie game. Or I guess it's first and third maybe, and 1 out, right? But instead, even though they don't have the shift per se, they kind of had a shift going because the shortstop was right there behind second base. Because had he been just a few feet over in normal position, no way does he get there. The guy hit it like 95 miles an hour, like just straight up the middle. And it turns out to be a force out at second. And that was sort of the end for the Cubs there. They did not have anything left. They gave up a run in the 9th just to make it a 3-run lead, because heaven forbid you keep it at 2, so that when Pico Armstrong walked to start the next inning, a home run would not have tied it. But luckily we didn't have to worry about that because we didn't really hit the ball of the infield after that. I don't think. So anyway, it was just a rough week, right? I mean, how do you... Cubs scored 7 runs against the worst team in baseball, pitching team in baseball, at home.
They came into that on a 15-game home winning streak,
yeah,
and got swept in back-to-back games or back-to-back series.
6 in a row.
How fun!
Yeah.
Andy, were you surprised that Craig Counsell rode this lineup for as long as he did before making changes?
Well, he's big on the batting orders don't matter and blah blah blah, and it seemed to be that the one patch he would do is he would try to find a spot for Conforto, either steal at bats from Ballesteros or then eventually from App, and he's not hitting either. I mean, I know his numbers still look good because he got hot so early, but since I wrote a whole thing on for Monday about since May 9th, since the losing started, when the second 10-game streak got broken, everybody's sitting under 200, and Conforto's right there with them. I mean, the only guy who's not is Bregman, who is just doing the same nothing, the very mediocre nothing that he's done all year. And so I'm sure if you're Craig, he's like, I can shift these guys around, but if nobody's going to hit, it doesn't matter what order I put them in.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with Happ, he wasn't just struggling. It wasn't like there was no hitting into hard luck. He was just striking out all the time. Still batting 3rd or 4th all the time. It's like,
and they rested him. They benched him for a couple games. It didn't matter, but yeah.
But they rode. I mean, he went bad for such a long time, and they just kept batting him. It's like, okay, we'll hit him 7th for a while then. Just get him out of there. And I'm sure Craig's like, who the hell am I supposed to move up? It's like, I don't care. Anybody. Just do it. The fix of putting Pete at the top of the order because he's walking more. He has like a 275 on base average.
Yeah.
I get it.
Worked for like 2 days.
Yeah.
Does it.
This is not the old days of having Anthony Rizzo lead off to give your lineup a jolt, put an actual good hitter, a guy who gets, even though he's slow, gets on base and have him lead off. This is, you're putting a guy up there who you're just going to get him he's going to get to make an extra out in the game. Basically, you can go 0 for 4 instead of 0 for 3 when you're not hitting. It's just, there's not a lot of levers to pull, but then when they do bring up, Alcantara and Ramirez, he's not playing Alcantara. He found a way on Monday to pinch hit 3 right-handed batters in the 9th inning, and none of them were Kevin Alcantara. It's like, could you just try it? Maybe try it. Just see what happens.
I will never understand as soon as that guy's hot, they call him up and then just sit him on the bench.
Yep.
I do not understand this.
No, how is it that the Cubs, how many times have we seen a team against us bring somebody up and a guy goes nuts for like the only 6 games of his entire life? Well, it has to be 3. You're not going to play him 6. But say that, who was the guy? Aristides.
Yeah.
I can't think of his full name.
Guy from the Reds, the third baseman.
not only did he did it over 2 series against him, he crushed them, and they just refused it. It's like, I wonder if he can hit a fastball. And then he hits out 3 homers. I wonder, do you think he can hit a fastball? I'd say, yeah, we've seen it. Stop throwing it to him. But they'll be the opposite. They'll bring a young guy up and like, okay, well, that'll be fun. He can watch for a while. That'll be great. It's like, he's been up before. He knows where the locker room is. Everything. He knows how to get the towels. He's fine. You put him in the lineup and just see, because he's not going to replace anybody who's playing well. You could put him in for any outfielder, and you're benching a guy who's struggling. Maybe try it. I don't understand it.
They did bring Pedro Ramirez up, and they let him play.
Yeah, which is nice, but partially that was because
Shaw went on the IL.
Well, but I mean, Dansby's been so bad,
and Dansby
unplayably bad. But then even that was only 1 day, because then they said they better get Nico a day off, so he played second again with Dansby at short. But I mean, he literally, what's Dansby hitting? It's like 180, right?
Well, they brought Alcantara up, and they rested Hap for 2 days, but they didn't.
Right,
Kevin,
they didn't play him. No,
he played somebody else.
That's what I mean. It's like,
yeah.
Well, we're facing lefties. It's like, all right, at some point, maybe stop trying to hide your, the hint of a lefty, Ballesteros comes out of the lineup. During this whole struggle, the thing that's made me the maddest is that, because when you look at Ballesteros, and he's actually like, he started to hit and he's taking walks. He's like the one guy in the lineup again who looks like he has a clue what he's doing. But during that long stretch before the last couple of days, he only had 20 at bats. Their whole cure for him struggling apparently was just don't let him bat then. Well, how is the guy who might very well be the best hitter on your team supposed to get out of a funk by not batting ever? I don't understand it.
Ugh. And the losing continued on Monday afternoon.
We'll get into that next week.
We'll get into it next week.
Yeah.
But
are there no spoilers? Trent Thornton, Mike Quaddy, back from the optometrist, came in and gave up the homer.
Cubs, after the loss today, Jesse Rogers notes that the Cubs tie their longest losing streak since 2022, dropping 9 in a row. They are 35 for 184 with runners in scoring position this month, which ranks 29th in Major League Baseball.
God, who's worse?
That's the first thing I said. I'm like, well, got to be Colorado, but do they get runners in scoring position?
Yeah, that's true.
The Cubs actually have left the most men on base of any team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And lately, that number has gone down because the Cubs haven't had anybody on base, which helps. But they're still not scoring them, so that part doesn't help.
It's like the old
the Angels were 30th.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I was gonna say it's like the old Seinfeld when they rent the car and it's not, you take the reservation, but you don't know how to hold the reservation. It's like you get the runners on base, but you don't know how to drive the runners in from on base.
In the last 14 games, the Cubs have hit batting average 183 with a on-base percentage of 289, a slugging percentage of 285, which is 574 OPS overall, which is the lowest in Major League Baseball. It is also 46 points lower than the second worst California Angels, or Anaheim Angels, whatever they call themselves now. Los Angeles Angels, whatever. 46 points behind them. The Cubs aren't even close to second to worst in baseball in the last 14 games. That's rough.
So when they went on the second big long, I looked at all the longest winning streaks of recent years and the longest home winning streaks, and they basically done a reverse 2001 Cubs. The 01 Cubs went on an 8-game losing streak. When they broke it, they then went on a 12-game winning streak, like immediately. So for 20 games, they were 12-8, but they did it by losing 8 in a row and then winning 12 in a row. So these Cubs are now, they're 10-9 in their last 19. They won 10 in a row, and then they've lost. Well, it's not exactly true, right? Because they got broken up by those 2 wins against the White Sox. And
I'd rather do the losing part first, and then the winning.
Yeah, or maybe just avoid it altogether if you could.
Well, there's that.
David Ross in 21 was one loss away from being the only manager in baseball history who managed a team with 10 game or longer losing streaks in the same season.
Oof.
And the way they broke it up was they had like an 11-game losing streak and a 10-game losing streak, and they had a streak after all the after those were pre-sell-off. Then after the sell-offs, they lost like 17 of 19, but in the middle they won a game that saved that they never got to 10 on either end of it. But
well, the White Sox lost like 24 in a row 2 years ago, right? So I don't know if that counts as 2 10-game losing streaks or just one continuous losing streak. I was doing a little research today for you two on going into Monday. I was looking at WAR by position in the National League. The Cubs pitching, starting pitching anyway, has been or had been sort of a strength of the team. And yet the Cubs are now tied for last in starting pitching WAR, minus 3.6. And I think that's just the injuries catching up to them. I mean, and I don't look, I have a lot of criticisms of the way they construct their rosters, but I will admit that if your 4 best starting pitchers are all out at the same time, like stuff's going to happen, right? Like it's hard to blame them. It's amazing to even have people who can go out there and pitch right now who are actually major league players like Colin Ray and Ben Brown and people like that. But look, it's rough.
They'll put that to the test tomorrow with Jordan Wicks.
Yes, no, exactly. That's when that happens. Now the Cubs on the bright side are leading all of Major League Baseball in WAR at what position? What offensive position?
Catcher.
Yes, catcher. Number 1 in baseball. Shockingly, they're tied for 3rd at first base. I know Bush has been playing better lately, but still, okay. And yet
he went a month between extra base hits. He had 2 on opening day and then literally went 30 days before he got the next one.
And just to show you how far Nico's fallen offensively, I guess, I looked at second base WAR. The Cubs are 6th in the National League at second base WAR.
Yeah.
And then at third base, this doesn't even make sense, but somehow they're 4th because all but 3 teams other than the Cubs have negative WAR at third base. Is third base really that weak a position in the National League after the Dodgers, Arizona, and San Francisco? I guess.
Well, and
that was news to me.
The Dodgers, Muncy's had such a weird year. So when he had 10 homers and 20 RBIs. So I was like, God, what's the worst ratio? Max Muncy at one point this year, maybe he still does, 12 homers, 19 RBIs.
Yeah, that's about right. Third base, the Cubs are 4th at third base. At shortstop in offensive WAR, the Cubs are somehow 5th. Nico must have had a couple good games at short or something because I don't understand how that could happen.
Is that all? I mean, Dansby had the stretch where he walked a bunch and scored, but he still wasn't getting any hits.
No. If you found that surprising, name the team in all of the National League out of 15 teams or however we have. What team do you think is first in left field offensive WAR?
Oh, God. You make it sound like it's the Cubs.
It is the Cubs.
Oh, that's not going to help. Gotta play him. But that's because he was so ridiculously hot for like 3 weeks.
Yeah. And his
Babe Ruth for 3 weeks.
127 when he doesn't play and Conforto or somebody else does, they have a good game. You know what I mean? It's a team effort, right? Yeah. Center field, the Cubs are 2nd somehow. Right field.
This is offensive WAR? This is WAR.
Yes. Offensive.
This is offensive WAR.
And they're 5th in right field. I don't understand any of this.
Yeah.
It makes me think WAR might not be as important.
The Cubs broke WAR somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but in any event, I believe my lying eyes, and they're not. They're just not.
Maybe it's not that crazy when you consider that they've played 54 games, right? Is that a third of whatever?
In just the last 10
and right, they were really good until the last 9. And so
and they're really good defensively too in a lot of those.
So it's 80% of the season. Did I do that math right?
Yeah.
They've been
this
good.
Doesn't count. This doesn't count today's game.
For the numbers to normal, and hopefully that instead of them being bad so long that the numbers start to come down, they just get their act together and the numbers don't have to get bad. That would be
and
nice.
these numbers don't count today when they were terrible. So I mean, it's really just those last 8 games, and then how they. I mean, even against the White Sox, they scored a bunch of runs.
Yeah.
In those 3 games, they just didn't win 2 of them. That was more of a pitching issue. So, anyway, that's where we're at.
Where the Cubs are at is 3rd place in the division, 3.5 behind Milwaukee, 1 game behind St. Louis, who's also lost 2 in a row.
They're in 3rd place. One of the 2 teams in front of them isn't trying to win.
That is correct.
Right.
They're actively trying to lose, and the Cubs are behind them.
And nor should they win. Yeah.
The Cubs playing 4 against Pittsburgh, and looking at these pitching probables for the rest of the week with Ashcraft, Bubba Chandler, and Paul Skeens, there's a chance the Cubs could be in last place by the end of this Pirates series.
Or first place by the end of the week. They turn it around, Jeremy.
Possibly. The Pirates are 2 games over 500.
Well, look how bad Paul Skeens is now. His ERA is over 2. He's struggling. Somebody tuned him up? The Phillies. The Cubs are not the Phillies. But
no.
Cubs tuned him up
he's 3.
last year.
I take it back. Paul Skeens' ERA is 3. Oh,
okay.
My God. So it's 2 bad ones in a row for Paul.
Yeah.
Now, you know what that means. This is where he rights the ship. Wasn't it? It was Jesus Luzardo, right? Last year?
Yes.
Had been tipping pitches and getting lit up.
9 runs in 1 inning. Yeah.
Then face the Cubs and just like, he's fixed.
Yeah,
oh, fixed. Thanks. Congratulations. Couldn't fix him next week. Had to do it today.
Yes. So the standings are tough right now, and 4 against Pittsburgh, and then 3 against those non-trying Cardinals, who probably are going to try at home against the Cubs on a weekend series.
Yeah, I hate them so much. I just don't even want to.
The offense has been the story of a lot of this last week in the losing streak, but pitching injuries are still a problem on this team. Pat, the pitching injuries are, we add Cabrera to that list now, and it seems like because we stopped paying attention to that briefly because we've been so focused on the offense and the issues there, but pitching injuries could continue to take their toll here, right?
Well, it should be worse before it gets better. Now Cabrera's out, so this week we have Wicks pitching twice. So there you go. I mean, Cabrera versus Libertone from St. Louis, or Cabrera, even Ashcraft, that'd be a even matchup. But Wicks, I mean, how many of these games are the Cubs even be favored in?
Maybe that's what they need. They just need to be the underdog.
The underdog.
Yeah, that's right.
Being the favorite hasn't helped lately. Maybe it's all a long con. Let's throw like 9 in a row just to get everybody. Let's get expectations
false sense of
down.
security. Yeah.
Let's get these expectations down where we can handle
them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bleak. It's bleak right now.
Says you.
Well, make me feel better.
Well, wait for my prediction.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got the Cubs playing 4 against Pittsburgh, 3 at St. Louis on this road trip. We'll do predictions. Pat, we'll start with you because I'm dying. No, I'm going to start with Andy. I'm going to save you because you might be really optimistic here. So let's hold off. Andy, I'll let you predict, knowing that the Cubs lost one of these games to Pittsburgh. How about the remaining 6?
I'm going to say they go 3-4 or 3-3. So I'm just picking. I was already throwing the one loss. So 3-3. I think they can salvage one against the Pirates, and then, I don't even like to give the Cardinals credit for winning one of the 3, but I will just because the Cubs aren't playing very well. it's one of those things that it's bad, and it always feels worse when you slump offensively because nothing exciting happens in the game. Like when you're hitting and you're losing because you're giving up a lot of runs, it's like the last game against the White Sox where Conforto hits the home run and you're all excited and then it just gets pulled out from under you. But at least you had the one moment of excitement. When you're not hitting, you get nothing. You just get 2.5 hours of torture. And that's what we've gotten for like 9 in a row. And it makes it feel even worse than it is. It's bad, but I'm going to delude myself to say it's not that bad. And they can at least they can climb back to mediocrity. How's that?
3-4 in the 7 games. Pat, where are you?
Well, yeah, it is bad when the offense plays poorly, and especially when you have to do it in person and watch them all. So the Cubs had their best pitching matchup of the Pirates series Monday. They lost. Now it's Ashcraft, Chandler, and Skeens. So all 3 of those pitchers are better than the pitchers the Cubs are going to put up. Then they play St. Louis for 3. So I am going to be very optimistic, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Cubs this week go 3-4, which I know Andy just said,
Yes.
but that was my prediction to begin with. But I think 3-4 is a wildly optimistic prediction.
I think so
that
too.
That means either the Cubs have to win a Wicks start, or they have to beat like Chandler, which is possible, right, with Tyon, and then win the other 2 Cardinals games. I mean, there aren't a lot of avenues for going 3-4, but I feel like things will even out a little bit, and before you know it, Ballesteros hit 2 3-run home runs. Yay! Now Cubs win 8-6 or whatever.
Do you think there's time to find out where Miles Mastrobuoni is and bring him back for the Skeens start? Considering he got the first 2 hits, he got the first 2 hits that Paul Skeens ever gave up in the.
I know, and I remember, didn't Ian Happ walk with the bases loaded in that game?
That was the game where the Pirates walked like 4 guys in a row with the bases loaded.
I think Skeens did, right?
No, he was gone. It was the bullpen did it.
He started that game.
Yeah,
he might start that inning, but yeah, then
the Cubs did. They did they made a huge comeback and then they lost.
I was taking my wife out for Mother's Day, I think, that day for dinner that night because I had the phone under the table. Yeah.
I'm going to say 2-5. I'm a little more pessimistic than you two. I don't see. Maybe they get 1. Maybe they can win 1 against the Cardinals and start to turn it around, but I don't think the turnaround starts in St. Louis, unfortunately. It's been a bummer to talk about the current Cubs. Pat, can you close out the show how we close it out every week and take us back so we can talk about a lineup in Cubs history that is not today's current lineup? Take us back this day in Cubs history. What year are we in?
I like to curate these for the guest. So I'm going to pick a year that Andy was a sentient being and probably watching the Cubs in. So so that he can go back in the Wayback Machine with me. Jeremy, you can watch from afar. This one, you might have been a little young for this one. But I will start off by saying, if you want to know what year it is the year that the Cubs set the all-time Wrigley Field attendance record with 2.1 million patrons. Now, obviously, they've broken that record subsequently, but this was the year they set. That was the record that they set. Any guesses what year that was?
So is it 84?
No.
85?
Of course, right? Because it's always the year after the
other year that every starting pitcher got hurt at the same time, just like
that's why I picked it. I figured you would know that and you would appreciate that. It was
they went on a 13-game losing streak that year.
Yeah. Yes.
I went to basketball camp at the University of Dubuque. And that was the good old days when we didn't have TVs in the dorms and we didn't care. We were too busy screwing around after camp anyway. And I remember Dad picked me up and I was like, well, how'd the Cubs do this week? He said, well, they haven't won since you left. And we went to the game. We went to the game where they broke the losing streak. We went to that one.
I remember playing Little League or something. And after the game, my dad broke the news to me that Dennis Eckersley had gotten hurt. And I just took my glove and I slammed it to the ground. I was so mad that every pitcher on the team was hurt now at this point.
Yeah.
So I picked it for several parallels. One, because I know Andy would remember it as he does. 2, it couldn't be more apropos of where we're at right now. The only difference being that in the 85 season, because they started at like at a gentleman's time of like April 6th or whatever, when the season's supposed to March 20th. The Cubs at this point in time had only played 39 games. They won on this day, May 25th, 1985, to advance their record to 24-15. This was right before all the pitchers got hurt. They'd had a couple injuries, I think maybe Trout, but this is before everybody was hurt. So the starting pitcher for the Cubs in this game, who would, become hurt soon, was a pitched 7 innings, gave up 3 runs. He's well known to you, Andy. He's a former Expo.
Oh, Scott Sanderson.
We
talked about him the last time I was on. That was the guy
that's right.
He gave me. Yeah.
He was the profile. Yeah. And then Lee Smith came in, pitched the last 2 innings, and got the win for the Cubs in this 5-4 game. That's back when, unlike Palencia against the White Sox on Sunday, your closer can come in and pitch 2 innings. So here you go. That's what happened. Now, what was the lineup for this stirring Wrigley Field 5-4 win in front of 36,278 fans? I mean, this was the team. The Cubs are going to go to the World Series after that disappointing. This is for younger fans out there. This is the 2004 Cubs to your 2003 Cubs, right? The heartbreak of the year before, and now you put it all together, and you've got a better team than before. And in '84 they didn't have Sutcliffe the whole year, and they didn't have Eckersley the whole year. Now they got everybody. So just imagine how much better they're going to be. Well,
and if you want to relive the 2003-2004 Cubs, you can buy my book.
There you go.
Until it wasn't, which is
yes,
all my columns from those 2 years with funny little footnotes. And if you want to remember a year that was a little more fun, you could also buy The Immortals, which is about the 2015-2016 Cubs. It's a little more fun.
Yeah, no,
both available at pointlessexercise.com.
One of the most talented Cubs teams, right?
The old Derek team was.
Yeah,
Hendry patched every hole they had.
Yeah,
and it didn't matter.
Like, he didn't patch it; he blew it up with far better players.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I can go with the obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, was Bob Dernier healthy?
Yeah.
Was he leading off playing center field?
Friend of the show, Bob Dernier.
Yeah.
I love Bob Dernier. He's one of my all-time favorites. Did I tell you he let me at a Cub convention? He let me wear his Phillies NL championship ring for a while. We were at Kitty O'Shea's, and I asked him about it, and he handed it to me. I had it on for a while. Ryan Sandberg at second base.
The daily double. Yeah.
Was Sarge left field.
So Sarge was not playing this game.
Okay.
The guy who replaced him was a guy who actually played left field this game, but he wasn't a left fielder by trade. He was a great all-star in the 70s, not with the Cubs, of course.
Oh, it's Davey Lopes.
Davey Lopes, yes.
He stole 46 bases that year.
47.
And he was
out
40
of 51.
And he's 40 years old, I think.
Yeah, he had. I'm going to get to that afterwards because he had an amazing season.
Okay, why is Fry? I know the whole. Well, we don't like to move the line, but why is Davey Lopes hitting third? Really?
He went 1 for 4, drove in 2 runs, and scored a run. He was hitting .302 with an .885 OPS.
Oh, he had a really good year for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so then clean up.
Maybe they scratched Sarge at the last minute and just wrote in Lopes' name. They had everybody else in ink already.
Well, Fry, and he wasn't the only manager. There were a bunch of managers who, if a guy, they didn't want to mess up the rest of the lineup, so the sub would just slot in, to whatever spot in the lineup. So you get Dave Owen batting second because Rhino needs a day off. It's like, no, we don't need Dave Owen batting second ever.
But you're right. I think that's sort of more the mental approach at the time. Also, the Cubs are going up this day against a former Cub pitcher from the Astros who was a famous knuckleballer.
Oh, Joe Niekro.
Joe Niekro, yeah. So maybe Davey Lopes had more experience knuckleball hitting. Who knows? Or maybe they just let you get on base and steal because it's kind of easy to steal on a knuckleballer. So, so those were the top 3.
All right. Clean up Leon Durham.
Yes. 1 for 4, drove in a run, scored a run.
5th, Ron Say.
He was 6th.
Okay, so Moreland
was 5th. Who had a better year in 85 they did in 84, because more of a part-time player in 84, thanks to Mel Hall.
Oh, no.
That's a story and a half.
Mel should get his own episode someday.
Yep.
Okay, so then we've got Say 6th, So 7th is I'm going to assume Jody Davis. If it's not, then
I would
Steve Lake.
I would too, but Jody had the day off and Steve Lake had the day on. He drove in a run, 1 for 3.
Okay.
Scored a run.
Let's see. It's too early for Sean, right?
Right.
So it's still Larry Boa.
Except Larry had the day off, so the Cubs went to another former Expo great / Cubs utility man.
Who played for that?
Got 2 hits in the game, actually.
Was it Tom Verizon?
No, that's a good guess. This guy was I think of him as an Expo. He also played for the Giants for a while. He was an all-star with the Giants 3 years in a row
was it
when
Chris
he was
Byer?
young. Yes, Chris Byer. Do you think of him as an Expo or a Giant? Because he was a Giant. He was a Giant before when we were really young, and then he was a Giant at the end of his career too. So we had him.
Probably why I think of him.
Yeah. So that was the lineup.
He also got a DUI driving home from a game when he was a coach for the Cubs.
Yes, that's right. So that's the lineup for the Cubs. But I thought even more interesting, we talk about roster construction, and one of the criticisms of the Hoyer teams the last couple of years have been the benches have not been particularly strong.
Yeah.
Fair? Like they just don't have a lot on the bench to help. This team may have had one of the best benches of my Cubs life when you think that Davey Lopes, who in 275 at-bats stole 47 bases and had an 826 OPS, right? I mean, he was just at 284. I mean, he was really good. He had more walks than strikeouts, 46 to 37. He was great. He had 1.8 WAR in 275 at bats. Cubs also had Chris Spire, who was a serviceable utility man.
Well, he would have been a significant upgrade over the Verizon, Owen, Dan Roan guys from the year before.
Right. And then the Cubs eventually did bring up Sean Dunston because Boa was older and hurt. So when Dunston was starting, they had Boa on the bench and vice versa. So that's another, bench player. They also had pinch hitter extraordinaire Thad Bosley, who in 180 at bats had a 2.3 WAR, which is pretty good for a guy who didn't play in the field much. Hit 328 with a 902 OPS. The guy had a hit. He must have 20 pinch hits that year. And then he started games and he played well then.
And so the year before, they had guys like Henry Cotto and they had Gary Woods, who always had to come in and finish the game for Sarge because he could actually catch a fly ball.
Gary Woods was on this team for 81 games,
And they had Jay Johnstone 2 years in 84 and Richie Hebner.
And Hebner managed to play 53 games, 83 games this year too. Henry Cotto.
The benches were bigger because he had
9 pitchers.
9 pitchers. You didn't have 13.
Yeah.
But was it a 24-man roster? When did they go to 25? I feel like my whole life until they went 26, they were 25.
I think it was 25 at this point.
Yeah.
I think it was 25, and then at some point when we were in our teens or 20s, they went back to 24 after a labor stoppage or whatever. They decided to screw the players because I guess the rules didn't require 25, so they were like, ha. Yeah. Dave Owen was on this team, but only for 20 plate appearances, so he was kind of pretty much gone at this point. But that was a pretty good bench. They had Steve Lake as the backup catcher. Billy Hatcher had some at bats on that team.
Yeah, this would have been the year that I wrote in Billy Hatcher for the All-Star game.
And you mentioned Henry Cotto. Henry Cotto was traded. Wasn't he traded for Rich Bordy? Or somebody.
I was just looking it up.
Or with Rich Bordy.
He was traded for one of my all-time favorite Cubs. So the trade was Jorge Altamirano, who was involved in a bigger trade when he came over from the Phillies.
Right.
Rich Bordy, Ron Hasse, and Henry Cotto to the Yankees for lefty Ray Fontenot. And my favorite, Brian Dayette. I love
Brian Dayette.
R.I.P.
Japanese home run hitter, right?
Yeah. And so Louis Valbuena and Brian Day, two of my inexplicably favorite Cubs, both were 24, both dead. I hope it's not.
I've got an autographed Valbuena jersey.
In my old Athletic headshot, they cropped it out, but I'm holding. I have a Valbuena jersey that I was holding up, and this was pre-New York Times. They still cropped it so you couldn't see that I had the Valbuena.
Henry Cotto went to Seattle eventually, and then I think went on the 60-day at the time disabled list because he took a Q-tip and punctured his eardrum.
That I think happened with the Yankees.
Was it the Yankees? Okay.
He got bumped, cleaning his ear in the dugout, got bumped into and punctured his eardrum.
Yeah. So some more fun post-Cubs trivia. But that was a year when so Eckersley missed 10 games as a starter. Trout missed 12. Sutcliffe missed like 13 or 14. Yeah. Sanderson missed 15.
And
Dick
they
Ruffin.
all weird? Like Sutcliffe was a hamstring, and I don't think anybody hurt their arm.
No, it was all different stupid stuff, right? Like freak stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So that was the 1985 Cubs. And at this point in time, they were just like the current Cubs. They were rocking and rolling. The Cubs of 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
we thought, they just picked it. It picked right up. We're gonna right that wrong from 84. Yeah. We're gonna win one more game, go to the World Series.
Yeah.
Alas, no.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago that the Cubs were like 10 games over 500, just like this team was, and we were talking about, they
were 12.
Yeah, they're 12.
They were 12 over. They were what? 20, maybe more than that. I thought they were at least 12 over. And then this.
Yeah.
Fun.
It's always fun to take a trip down memory lane and remember some guys in the 1985 Cubs. Definitely was a good time.
Brian Dant was the all-time home run leader in Japan, wasn't he? Or no?
No.
That was another former Cub.
Well, Tuffy Rhodes.
Tuffy Rhodes. That's right.
Yes. Was Tuffy the one that got first? They benched him. He was going to break Sadaharu O's single season record. First, they benched him. Then
they intentionally walked him.
Then and Sadaharu O was managing the team that they were facing, and he's intentionally walking Tuffy Rhodes so he wouldn't break his record.
Brian Dant was the first Cub I remember going to Japan. I think probably right.
Yeah, because didn't he left? I mean, he left to go to Japan.
Yeah, and
I remember thinking, "What? They traded him to Japan?" Like, no, they didn't trade him to Japan. What did we get back? Did we get a hibachi? No. Yeah, he had one good year for the Cubs in part-time duty, hit over 300, I think. And I was in Little League, and I got 24 that year, and so I immediately attached myself to Brian Dayette because Sean Dunn is my all-time favorite Cub ever. But I had room for other favorites, and Brian Dayette was inexplicably one of them.
Bill Buckner for me, but so he was going to be the start. Here's a little trivia, one last trivia, Jeremy. Brian Dayette was going to be the starting right fielder for the Cubs in 1987, but at the last minute, the Cubs signed Andre Dawson.
Did that work out?
I feel like it worked out okay.
They could have used that money better if they'd have kept Dayette. They could have found some other guy willing to let them fill out a blank contract, another Hall of Famer to do that.
Yeah, the Nippon Ham Fighters, benefited too with Dayette showing up there, right? Yeah.
It's like I don't know if you guys have been watching the podcast about the Ross and Rizzo podcast about the 16 Cubs. But every episode they talk about Dexter coming back and how exciting it was, and they just had the Dexter one. But they had one that had Chris Coughlin was on it, and he has a slightly different memory of Dexter coming back because he showed up early that day to work out, and Theo came to him and said, "Hey, you want to take a walk?" And Chris is like, he's like, "Oh, you're busy, you're working out. I'll come back." He's like, "No, if we're going for a walk, we're going for a walk right now." And he basically told him they were trading him to the A's, and he didn't know why. But he went back he said he went on this walk. He comes back to the clubhouse in spring training, and everything, he can't change out of his gear because they boxed everything up, and Dexter's stuff was in his locker. And then he saw Dexter on the way out. So he claims he's like, I was the first player to know because his uniform was hanging in my locker, and I didn't have any pants I could put on. I had to go out He had to go to A's camp in his Cub gear.
As he was taking a Mesa City bus to A's camp, he could hear the roars of the team behind him as they're celebrating Dexter's arrival.
Pretty much. I really enjoyed that story. It was funny.
Time flies.
I've been to that old A's training camp, by the way. It's the Municipal Park, the stadium they played in. It's the worst baseball stadium. I've been to grade school stadiums better than that.
Well, now they're at Ho-Ho Camp.
Yes, they are. Yes.
With
Sorry,
that,
Jerry.
We're going to wrap it up for this week. Andy, always a pleasure catching up with you and talking Cubs. Please remind our listeners how they can find all your work on the internet.
The easiest place, go to pointlessexercise.com. That's where the podcast is. That's where the subscription newsletter is. And that's where you can buy the books. They're available wherever Amazon is sold, because they're only available on Amazon, but still.
What is your 1985 book called again?
So I don't have an 85 book. I have an 03. I have an 0304 book.
Yeah, 0304.
It's called Great Until It Wasn't.
Great Until It Wasn't.
And then the 16 book is The Immortals. And that is they are my columns from those years reprinted, and then I went through and I footnoted them and made fun of stuff and made fun of myself for some of my writing and explained some of the things and talked about things that changed. I think people seem to like them. So that's where you can get them. And I appreciate the chance for the gratuitous plug that I sprung on you unannounced.
Oh, no. Perfect.
No, this is why, anytime. And I will plug our stuff now. At Wrigleyville Nat is the social media handle. Wherever you are on social media, you can find us there. If you want to support the show, we ask you for free to go to YouTube and find the podcast there. Give us likes and subscribes. Helps us work the algorithm so other Cub fans can find the show. And if you want to support the show with money, you can do that by buying merchandise. The store is available on all the social media links right at the top. It's pinned there. If you go to the website, wrigleyvillenation.com, of course, get yourself shirts, mugs, hats, all kinds of stuff available there. And, of course, thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/WrigleyvilleNation. It's how we stay ad-free for another season. We thank all of our supporting patrons there. And with that, we're going to wrap it up and call it a podcast. Pat, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks again, everyone, for listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.